What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Phaithful Phanatics show live here on DSM-Media's Philadelphia YouTube channel. Guys, first and foremost, if you are new to the channel, make sure to do us a favor real quick. Make sure to smash that subscribe button. We finally got over our first 100 subscribers earlier on this afternoon. On the road to 200, George. It's the best spot to get your thoughts, comments, and questions pulled up here on the screen with your host. I'm one half of them, Dylan Davis. To my right, my co-host, George Ryder. The Phillies season kicks off Friday. Unfortunately, opening day postponed tomorrow afternoon due to the weather. So we'll be kicking off the season at home against the Atlanta Braves. Zach Wheeler on the bump versus Spencer Strider Friday afternoon. This is your Phillies season kickoff show, just as we do every year here on DSM Media and on the Phaithful Phanatics show. But George, been a minute, bro. No, how we doing?
Way too long, dude.
Scotty looks a little different. A little slimmer, a little lighter, different guy.
Doing my best. Yeah, it's been way too long. I'm waiting for the Phils, but I'm back and I'm ready. I'm ready to go.
Back for Phil season. All right, man. Let's start here. Obviously, it sucks at the first day that the first pitch has to be delayed an extra 24 hours here for us. But it's not like we haven't dealt with that before when trying to win a World Series. So I think we can power through. But let's start with one of the kind of, I guess, hot topics when it comes to this Phillies team, and it's how can they manage to not play from behind? How important is it for the Phillies to get off to a good or hot start this season? Obviously, this is going back years, but let's just focus on the last 2 years making the postseason runs they have. The last 2 years, the Phillies have played 500 baseball in the months of March and April and sub 500 baseball in the month of May. Obviously, it's going to already be a very difficult task keeping up with the Atlanta Braves. You're talking the 100, 105 plus win team there for the NL East pennant. How important is it that they get out to a hot start?
Insanely important. I mean, if you want to win the division, which they should want to win the division,
right?
The last 2 years have been tough, especially last year. You go in with such high expectations. We were probably the highest we've been in so long for the
Phillies team. Yeah,
going into a season, and they jump out to a 1-5 start. They fight back to get to 8-13. It's like that's not going to cut it if you want to win a division. The Braves are already 15-4 at that point. The good thing is easy schedule to start off. After the Braves series, what do you got? You got Cincinnati, Washington, St. Louis, Pittsburgh, Colorado, Chicago, Cincinnati again. Like that's an incredible first.
A little different than the start of last year.
100%. And listen, I know the Braves are so good. 105 wins. They can win as many games as they want.
Absolutely.
No one's saying that they won't take a step back this year, right? I mean, They had career years from multiple guys. They had historic years from an entire offensive standpoint. Mm-hmm. They can take a step back, and the Phillies are really trying to fight and show we are a top dog. We are a number one contender type team.
Correct.
You got to go out there. You got to win games. You got to be not 10 games back by All-Star break.
Yeah, obviously you cannot win a season. You cannot win a division title in the first month or so of a baseball schedule, but you certainly can almost lose a division title or put yourself in a very, very deep hole, as you've seen the last 2 seasons when things have kind of hit an uptick. And obviously we got back to the playoffs for the first time in a decade 2 short years ago. But no one's sitting here suggesting that the Phillies start out like they did, I believe, in 2019 before COVID hit, when they were 13, 12 games over 500 heading into the month of June. And we thought, and Andrew McCutchen was leading off for this team. And we thought this is the year they finally crack back in the postseason. They didn't even make it that year. So no one's suggesting that just because they get out to a good start means they've won anything or they've accomplished anything. But it definitely gives you an advantage of not burying yourself so early, specifically against Atlanta. And I think that's the biggest kind of next step for me when it comes to this Phillies team this season, man, is we all know that this team could be the first, second, or hell, even third wild card. They could get in the final weekend of September or early October and make the playoffs and go on this magical run like they have been doing. But that's not sustainable. That's not what great teams do. That's not what great franchises do. And I get it, right? We like to laugh at Atlanta and we poke fun a little bit at LA with the Dodgers, because what have 109 wins or 105 wins done for you guys over the last couple of years? Well, the Dodgers have a World Series in 2020. Mm-hmm. Whether you want to count it or not, it's theirs. The Braves have a World Series the season after, and every year since then, they've both been winning their division and 100+ wins. That's what great teams, great franchises do. And that's the next step for the Phillies. So are they going to beat out Atlanta for the division? My gut says no. No, they're not. I think they're going to be the first wild card seed again. But the next step for me is showing that consistency, showing that success and that dominance over the course of the regular season, and fighting with the Braves into the month of September for the division title. That shows me another side of this Phillies team.
Yeah, as much as I love being the underdog and going to Atlanta for games 1 and 2 and winning series, it's not sustainable. Like you said,
No.
it's just not. You got to go out there and you have to show that you are not just a little brother in this division. That's pretty much what it is. I get it. Like the Braves, man, they are all around a fantastic team. Charlie Morton, Chris Sale, not the healthiest guys around, you know? Like this team could very much have 1 or 2 injuries and we're right there with the division. And if you jump off to a great start, which man, with this schedule, if you don't start off to a great start, I'll be so mad. You're right there the entire time. I want this division to be like 4 or 5 games the entire year. I don't want to be 11 games back and saying to myself, "Oh, you never know, you never know." You know, I don't want the number 1 wild card. I want to win the division. I want to win the division. I want days off. I don't want to play in a wild card game. I want to see the Braves in a wild card game.
Yeah, I agree. Like, dude, because first of all, we're going to get into player projections, the team, all that fun stuff on this kickoff show. But like, for the last 2 years, we've poked fun at Atlanta and the excuse making, right, of the days off, and it's a disadvantage to these divisional winners. Well, okay, maybe that little short stint is a disadvantage for a game or two. Well, then I can argue that having to play all these extra games that the Phillies have had to do in the wild card rounds and go on the road the first series or two, by the time you get to the World Series or you get to game 6 and 7 of the NLCS, Zach Wheeler's fatigued. Aaron Nola's more fatigued. The bats go a little bit colder. I can argue the same thing the further you get in the postseason. So, yeah, you're goddamn right. I'd rather not have that underdog mantra and everyone and the backs against the wall, and that's when this team's the best. It's a good attribute to have. I don't need to show it each and every year. I want to be that successful team. And I think to your point with the schedule, man, like that'll be a very funny talking point in 2 months from now if the Phillies are a 500 club or floating right around there with this easy schedule and underperforming, because we're going to be sitting here. Some people are going to be complaining about the lack of success and how this team looks, but then we're on the other side of the coin. You're going to be sitting here talking about, well, this is what they do, right? This is we've seen this before. They'll be fine. Don't worry about it. I want to worry about it. I want to care about baseball in June and July and August. I don't want 500 baseball a little above and go, they'll heat up when it matters most. I want sustained dominance. I want sustained success.
And that's the thing. This roster all around is too good to not fight for this division. I get how good the Braves are. Everyone loves talking about how good the Braves are. This team, this roster, these bats, this rotation, this bullpen, as we'll get to, this number 1 bullpen of baseball.
Yes.
It's way too good to be 10 games back at the All-Star break or completely out of the division race and saying, what wild card spot are we fighting for 2 months left in the year? It's too good. We're way too good for that. And I think this is the year that things change and we are fighting hand in hand with this division every single month. I really do. I really think this is the year.
They need to, man, because it's almost like with obviously all the work LA put in the offseason, and the Braves have had a very successful offseason as well. Mm-hmm. It's almost like the Phillies are being overlooked a little bit. Again, like you said, the little brother syndrome of, well, it's a 2-team race. And then you have what the Diamondbacks are doing, who represented the NL last year, and they go out and get Jordan Montgomery last night. The Phillies, you have to stake your claim or claim your whatever I want to say right here. You have to put your stamp on this season early. And to Marshawn Lynch's question, like, no, it's not. It's an excuse that they've used. Listen, baseball's a momentum sport, and I don't doubt that the extra 2 or 3 games the Phillies play maybe gets them into a rhythm, but it does not so drastically take Atlanta out of a rhythm. Because I would argue this, okay? Maybe they're not playing every day like they are at the end of the year, but for the last 2 years, the Braves have had the division locked up for weeks to go. Had they been playing meaningful baseball, the last 2 weeks of the regular season or the last week of regular season? Are they resting guys and getting guys out of games earlier in terms of starting roles? Yeah. So they haven't been in this big push to keep momentum going at the end of the years anyway. It's such a ridiculous claim or excuse.
It's just a lame
Yeah,
excuse. It's a dumb excuse. It really
correct.
is.
I'd rather have the days off and worry about
I
what
would
happens
too.
when we get there and have them
100%.
come to the bank for the first 2 games. But
Especially with the bullpen arms and the starting rotation. It's just you rather have the extra days.
so let's get into this Phillies team, man, that we're so excited for this season with. Let's start with, I guess, the biggest, with the NFL preseason and training camp, you talk like camp standouts, I guess, with spring training standouts and storylines. The biggest one, I guess, has kind of been center field, right? So Dave Dombrowski goes out and acquires Whit Merrifield in the offseason, just an ultra utility guy, a right-handed bat that can give you some pop, that can play left field. Brandon Marsh was injured at the time. But the whole kind of point was it's a hedge on Johan Rojas. And then spring training begins, and Johan Rojas, is lucky to hit $149 right now, whatever he's sitting at as spring training came to an end. While Christian Pache, who was sitting here fighting for the final bench spot, ends up having himself a hell of a spring training and kind of found himself in the discussion for that starting center field job. It seems like Johan Rojas is going to be the guy come Friday. Now, is it a platoon every other day, every 2 days? I don't know, but it seems like he's getting the opening day nod. My question is, should he be getting the opening day nod? And can you get away with it?
Should he? In my opinion, I was on the Pache train. Seeing Rojas's bat is just so tough, man. I know
harsh, man.
Well, going into the year, it's like he's working all off season. He's in the lab. He's strong. He's jacked. You got all these
muscle.
You get big muscle. You get all excited, and then he's just going out there and he's whiffing. He can lay down a bunt now, which is pretty cool. But it's like, I love his defense, man. I think it's otherworldly. I think he's amazing. Pache is an amazing defender as well. Amazing. So whether they're going platoon or not, obviously they lean Rojas heavy. Dombrowski, every chance he got in the offseason was like, well, we got Rojas. Is it sustainable? Maybe. Depending on if Rojas can actually build off of what he does in the beginning of the year and kind of work with K-Long and everybody and just and figure it out in that aspect, like just after everything. It's tough. It really is, because I do like Rojas, and obviously
I do too.
Rojas, but the bat, you just can't get over the bat.
No,
and listen,
man.
I really do think it's going to be Pache, him kind of platooning a little bit. And I don't know how good Witt is in the outfield. Really,
can you afford that though? Like,
that's the
question
thing.
You have with Johan Rojas is if he's this next guy, if he's what they're planning for the future out in center field. As bad as he is with a bat in his hands right now, he cannot afford not to be playing every day, whether it's at this level or this level down in the minors in AAA.
He has to be seeing pitches.
Right.
He has to be seeing pitches consistently.
I don't know if you can sustain a platoon out there either, or forget Pache. If it's Marsh and Rojas platooning and, Merrifield plays left at times, whatever the case is, I don't know that you can do that to him, because I think he needs to play every day to improve his one major weakness. The other thing is, I think it depends how you view baseball. I think it depends what you favor, right? Are you okay with leaving runners on base to possibly save you some runs out in the field? And like you said, Pache's got speed. He's got a glove. He's a hell of a defender as well. But if Rojas is truly otherworldly, can you afford not to have him out there in the field? And I think I saw the clip that Ricky Batalico had put out there with NBC Sports Philly, and it's true. It's like, if you talk to Aaron Nola and Zach Wheeler, they're going to tell you they need or want Johan Rojas out behind them. That's their best chance. But then how many times are we going to watch in a postseason run? Runners on first and third, 2 outs. He's coming to the plate in the 4th inning.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't take him out because it's only the 4th inning. So what the hell is he doing in there anyway if you can't trust him with runners in scoring position in a tight ball game in a big moment?
Yep.
So it depends what you favor. You can.
Because even last year, Pache showed the bat. Like this isn't
Right.
like a little spring training. Pache showed the bat. He had pop
He's
and he
much
had a little
more
bit
of a major league hitter at this point of both their careers. Now he's slightly older. He's a little bit older than Johan Rojas, obviously, but he's
former
much
top
more
10
prepared to
prospect.
handle a bat right now.
Yeah, I mean it's tough. It really is. I think for now, obviously, him being in the 9-hole regular season baseball, it's a little more like, oh, we can get away with this for a little bit, see how he does, type of thing. If he's not there during playoffs, you can't play him. Like you just
Yeah.
can't. You can't do it. I love the glove, man. I do.
Yeah.
Put him out there in the late innings when you're up by 1 and put him in the outfield if you need
Correct.
to.
You had the Ronald
Yeah.
Acuna catch against the wall to save the
100%.
day, right? To advance. Like you had those moments, but like you said, we're all going to be going nuts and clamoring and cheering for when he does something like that. But then everybody's going to be upset and angry when he leaves runners on second and third in a one-run ball game. So it depends how you view the sport and what you view as more important. I kind of said the other day, I view the bat to be more important. Now, granted, if it was Johan Rojas or Kyle Schwarber defensively, I'll take the defense.
Yeah, it's different.
It's not. It's not that big of a drop off defensively from Rojas to Pache. Some people will tell you he might be the greatest glove in center field ever.
No, but Pache is.
I mean, the kid's been in the majors for 2 months, and all of a sudden he's the greatest defensive player to ever lace him up. So
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know what to think, what to believe. I'll trust Rob Thompson. I'll trust Dave Dombrowski to start the year. But I'm telling you, man, this kid cannot be an anchor at the plate. And it can't be a question every day of who's starting out in center field.
Agreed.
So we'll see. Other question marks, other concerns or bright spots for this Phillies team. I don't know if you've been paying attention to MLB Network or anything that they put out there, but the Phillies bullpen is ranked at the top of the majors. They're top 10 bullpens.
Ours?
Yeah.
Us,
this
Phillies?
This one that throws Dylan Covey or Craig Kimbrell out there in playoff games last year. The Phillies apparently had the best bullpen in the majors, okay? If they're not the best, they're top 5 for sure. And I'm not going to argue that. But you go down this roster and you talk about the Alvarados, the Sir Anthonys, Jeff Hoffman. Can he extend a role? Is he a guy you see out there in the 8th, 9th innings again this year? Orion, can he take a step? Is he a closer? Soto, is he trustworthy? And Strom. It's a good bullpen. But don't we all have some form of PTSD from each and every one of these guys in big moments?
Definitely. But
how do you get past it? And is it a strong suit is my question.
This bullpen is 110% a strong suit. If you say otherwise, I think you're very wrong. I do. I think that because last year, this bullpen was top 5 statistically in all of baseball. Like they were a really good bullpen and they kept us in games and they locked down games. This bullpen right now is very good. Is it top 1 out of 32?
Right.
Maybe not. It's 100% top 5. You got guys in there like Sir Anthony, Alvarado, Hoffman. I could see any single one of them taking the closer role and running with it. Anyone. I don't think it'll be Alvarado. I think they want him more high leverage.
So no Kerkering yet at this point.
I'm into Kerkering. I think it's more likely Sir Anthony takes the reins from it, if anything. But I do love Orion too, and I think he has a chance to be the future closer. But this bullpen all around is just deep. I mean, Orion, Alvarado, Hoffman, Dominguez, Soto, Strom. Even, I mean, I'm gonna hop back on the Junior Marte. We'll see what happens with that. But I truly is
you a Michael Rucker guy too.
Yeah, no, I'm all right. But this bullpen's proven they've been in high leverage situations. They've been in postseason moments where they've all come in clutch. We probably all can pop in one memory of each and every single one of these guys in a big postseason moment. You can remember what they did.
I mean, Connor Brogdon had a moment in the World Series run 2 years ago. And
Hoffman is throwing like 98 right now. Like it's nuts. I really do. I think MLB ranking us 1 was a little like haha because we're used to. Come on, the Phillies bullpens. Like,
I mean, dude. I mean, heading into that World Series run 2 years ago, the bullpen was by far the weakness and the scariest part of this team. I mean, 3 or 4 years ago, they were breaking MLB records in blown saves and giving up leads late in games.
Historically, the worst bullpen in baseball history, actually.
Yeah, so that I think that's it for me, is to kind of just see that recognition nationally of this team is that good in this area.
Yep.
I'm like, are
it's weird, and it makes me second guess it. But I truly do think, in my opinion, I think we are top 3. But I think I can think you can put it any which way. You got a few clubs up there. The Braves are very good. They're very talented. But yeah, I think
mean, one thing with the Phillies, dude, is they pump out of this pen.
And
especially if Kirkery's giving you 98 to 100, Hoffman's giving you 97 to 100, Seranthony can give you 97 up, Alvarado can give you 102, 103.
They haven't pumped in a decade, though.
Yeah.
So it's
Soto can throw 100. I mean, as long as he has command. But
that's the thing, Soto. I mean, I don't want to say like he's going to be the closer. He's closed in the past.
In Detroit he had, and then he came here. He's very rocky. But I saw someone talk about, now you might know this a little better than me. I haven't checked out the numbers, but if you eliminated like just a few outings by him, his ERA
it was pretty good. It was very good.
Diminishes from where it was, like gets a lot better.
That's all it takes is like 2 or 3 terrible outings, and it's like it's never going to recover.
Right.
And I like the velo and movement. I'm a sucker for it, and I think his control is just getting better. So
that's the biggest thing. That's the biggest thing, man, because I think that's where I get so frustrated with this bullpen at times, is like your job when you come out of that pen, especially in a close game playoff scenario, I need you to throw strikes. So when I had to watch Orion Kirkgreen come in and not locate in Arizona in game 4, I wanted to rip my hair out of my head, because it's like, I just throw strikes and let us make a play. Let them put one in play. And when you don't do that, I lose my mind. So for guys like Gregory Soto, at times I do get frustrated, but they do have a very good mix of lefties and righties. They pump. They have a lot of guys that can close. That would be my next question, is like, can you get away with a platoon closer?
I think so this is my opinion. First of all, I think you can, but I kind of like having a set closer, just personally.
No, I do. Yeah, I do too.
Yeah, I think it's sustainable. I think they're going to start the year off doing that, kind of a platoon type, ride the hot hand. Who's it going to be like this week, next week? And I think they'll find eventually that number 1 guy where they're going to lock down into the closing role, whether it's Hoffman, whether it's Seranthony, whether it's even Orion or Soto. I mean, that's the thing. You have a lot of depth and you have a lot of options, that guys who can actually close baseball games for you. So if Rob's like, I want to go closer by committee, closer by every game, so be it. If he wants to take a guy, and say, you want to do it, go for it.
Let me ask you a question. Speaking of Rob Thompson and our bullpen, is he part of the reason we have a little bit of a blurry memory and vision of what this bullpen is? Because I love Rob Thompson, and I love I love the person. I love the leadership. I love that the players love Rob Thompson. I think he's a hell of a manager. He definitely mismanaged the bullpen at times throughout last year and into the playoffs. And that's kind of some of my concern. Like, we could sit here and talk closer, who should it be? I mean, for God's sakes, man, Matt Strahm finished the job against the Atlanta Braves. Craig Kimbrell would close one game and then be out in the 5th the next night in the playoffs. That's what I can't, like, you talk about role definition and what you are in the pen. I need more sustainability from Topper as well, because guys have to know when they're coming to the ball club, okay, this is when my number might be called tonight. And, if especially for a young guy like Kirkering, I mean, you're talking about a guy that might be able to close games, and then one night he might get the phone call in the 6th, and that's just a completely different scenario.
Yeah, and especially with pitchers who are very mentally crazy a little bit, like, in a way. I mean,
absolutely.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. I think we are a little clouded by those Rob Thompson, Game 4, Craig Kimbrell, NLCS type moves, you know? And do I think Rob's going to change? I hope. I mean, that's the thing. The last 2 seasons has always been a little sketchy with the bullpen.
Hey, he's an older fella. They don't like change so much, man.
Did he lose us the NLCS? Hell no. But was his mismanaging a part of it? Yes, it was. Yeah. And I really hope that he's changed in a way where it's like, this bullpen is going to be use this way, or he's going to sit down with them and say,
Well,
this is the way to use.
George, I think the best way you can look at it is what Arizona did to us. You want to talk role definition?
Yep.
They went bingo, bongo, bam. Like just
Yep.
3 guys, 7, 8, 9. This is when you're coming in, and these are the 3 outs you need to get me. And they did it every game they needed to against us to win the 4 games.
100%.
Maybe we're not equipped with personnel like that. Maybe we don't have the closer to fit that role. But I would hope over the course of a very successful regular season, by the way, that they figure this out.
Yes.
I'll come back to the pitching because I do want to talk about the fun part of this team, and that's the lineup, and that is all the star power, from Bryce Harper and Trey Turner all the way down to Bryson Stott and Brandon Marsh and Whit Merrifield. Right, you go out this offseason and you bring in a platoon guy in Whit Merrifield, who I just think's is like he's almost like that missing piece to the puzzle, right? Who can just come in and be a fine defender wherever he is, left field, second base, wherever Rob puts him on a given night. But just be that steady bat at the back end of a lineup, whether that's 7, 8, 9, whatever you have. The lineup you mentioned, Rob, doesn't like change. Kyle Schwarber's leading off. For everybody that doesn't know this, Kyle Schwarber's leading off. I'm one of the people that remain on the train of Kyle Schwarber should be leading off. I know people disagree. No. He sees more pitches, gets more
at-bats, more home runs.
More home runs.
Come on.
The average, fellas, the average ain't changing too much. So you want to put him in the 4 or 5 hole. Oh, well, what about when he has runners on base? Buddy, after the top or bottom of the first, there's going to be opportunities for him to hit second, third, fourth in an inning where runners can be on base. It's one time where he's potentially a leadoff guy for sure. So stop that. That's not my question. I think it's pegged. Schwarber, Turner, Harper. My question's filling out the bottom of it. And I think we've kind of gotten a sneak peek in spring training of who's going in that cleanup spot. And it seems to be the man that plays behind home plate for us.
He's like it. And the guy that's been in the bio lab hitting. Oh, yeah.
Do you like it?
I love it.
Really? We disagree a little bit here.
I do. I think JT. All right. So
Tell
I'll tell
me
you
on the idea.
I love it because, first of all, the offseason, JT, from what everyone's being told, reporters and himself, he was locked in to this new analytics bat swinging cycle thing the entire offseason. And it's like you hear about it, and it's like, whoa, that's cool. Like he's locked into analytics. He's trying new things. That's awesome. And then you see him in spring training, and he is barreling every freaking ball. That man has been hitting the crap out of the ball in spring training, which spring training, grain of salt. I get it. Take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah, I mean, on the other hand, Bryce Harper has 1 extra base hit in spring training. So,
yeah, exactly. Take it with a grain of salt.
Thanks, George.
Exactly. I think JT has a type of year where he is going to absolutely hit the cover off the ball. I think from everything in the offseason and from his swing pad, it just looks so damn good on every video I've seen of him and every game we've watched of spring training this year. I think he's going to be a great cleanup hitter. Which, can I guess who you want to clean up?
Yeah, go ahead.
Is it Bomer?
No.
Is it Costi?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, all right. It was either one or other, which I'm fine with. I'm fine with it.
I mean, listen, you sold me a little bit. I will tell you this. With all 3 of those guys, because I think those are the only 3 options. Like those, you're not moving Schwarber out of that spot. Yeah. Bryce has to hit 3. He has to hit in the first inning. Stott's not hitting cleanup for this team. Nope. So, right. So those are the 3 guys. I think with all 3, they come with major, major question marks and inconsistency because they've all hit there for Rob Thompson at times over the last year. JT Realmuto hasn't remained consistent enough. Alec Boehm got the nod in the postseason. We saw kind of how that went. Nick Castellanos can tear the cover off of a baseball for 2 weeks and then look like me and you in the majors for a couple of weeks. Yep. So they all have consistency issues. So for me, I put all that in a pot and I stir it and I go, well, then who gives me the biggest upside in a cleanup hitter throughout all the inconsistency? And I go with the pop and I go with the extra base hits and I go with the power and I go to Nick Castellanos, right? Ryan Howard's not popping out of the tunnel. We don't have that traditional, this is your cleanup guy hitting 3 run home runs and grand slams, right? It's not happening. But I think Nick Castellanos is a guy that is going to hit 28, 30 plus home runs for this ball club. Alec
Oh,
Boehm
20,
isn't
30.
there.
Let's go.
JT Realmuto isn't there. So that's why I would lean Costi to start. To your point, if JT's swing is different, if the approach at the plate is different, if the swing path is different, I'm all on board with JT Realmuto being that gap shot kind of cleanup hitter. Bryce or Trey's on second base, 1 out, 2 outs, boom, one's put in the gap, double, 1-0 ball game fills because he's there to do that. And he can hit you around 20 home runs, a little less or so, right? So I'm for it. I would just go Costi to start because of the inconsistency. Yeah.
And honestly, go ahead.
No, I was going to bring up Marshawn Lynch's point, and I think this is what everyone's going to. I think that's where the sustainability in the regular season comes in. I think if you don't, the Phillies are only going to win 90, 91, 92 games. Not that that's not great, but that they have a cap on them if the lineup stays inconsistent the way it has in the past and in the postseason. The way to show themselves and this fan base this year's different is to have that level of consistency up and down the lineup. You're going to win 95, 96 plus games if that consistency is there.
Mm-hmm. I think, to another point, I think Rob too. I know we're starting off with JT at cleanup, which is very different. I have a feeling Rob's going to be a little if it's not working, let's try something else out type of thing. Because I know, Rob Thompson very set in his ways. I'm not changing it.
He will move the lineup around outside of Schwarber.
He will move the lineup around outside of Schwarber. I think regular season we're going to see the best version of this lineup, and we're going to figure it out by postseason type of thing.
Yeah. No, I hope so because, that's the other thing, man. Again, we're talking about being that team throughout the course of 162 and into the playoffs. And it's like, man, great teams, their lineup card every night.
Yeah.
And it's just like in the past, again, 1 through 3 were set. If Rojas is playing, he's 9. But there's days, man, where you do not know who 4 through 8 is in this lineup in different types of orders and meshes. And that's where probably half the inconsistency comes from.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Bryson Stott's hitting 5th. Bryson Stott's hitting 8th. Alec Boehm's batting cleanup. Alec Boehm's batting 7th. There's too much flipping around and back and forth when it does come to this lineup. So we'll see. If I had to ask you for your biggest X factor in the lineup, who would it be?
Ooh, X factor.
And you can give me a star. Like you could say
X factor in a way. All right, so we'll go X factor. That's not Bryce. I think Trey Turner bounces back in a big way.
Yeah. But I think Trey's a star just as much.
I think Trey's a star. I'm going to go Bryson Stott. I think he continues. I think it's either Stott or you could even say Marsh. Because if Marsh is down there in the bottom of the order with that above 800 OPS and he's on base, it's like that. What do you have? He had like a 370 on base percentage. It was nuts. Like he got on. Yeah, like he got on base. So if he can keep doing that, that is huge for us at the bottom lineup. Especially because every year here, and even at the Angels first year here, he's just only gotten better every single year. So it's like this year he could take another step, and we may just even see some more pop. Like I think him at the bottom of that lineup is going to be huge because especially when you got him sandwiched right behind Rojas.
Yeah,
like you got to get on base, right? Because Rojas might be butting you over or swinging and missing.
Yeah, no, I agree. For me, it is Brandon Marsh because I do think when you get to the bottom of that order, you start to creep away from the power and from the star power up top, and it's like, okay, well, how can we continue to have success? Because that's where I feel like, just as a fan or in a big moment, you're sitting here and you're down 1, you're down 2 in a ball game, and 3 outs. Our pitcher heads into the dugout. It's like, all right, who we got up? Rojas, Marsh, and Merrifield. Oh, shit. On to the next inning. Brandon Marsh can be a guy at the bottom of the inning, at the bottom of the order, that doesn't give you that mindset, that can hit. I mean, what's a really good Brandon Marsh here? 280, 285, 282, somewhere.
Yeah, 280 to 285 with like an 850 OPS. Yeah. That's amazing.
And I think to your point, you've seen the power tick up the last 2 years. I mean, he's had to have led the team in triples through spring, through
It
last
seems
year, and
yeah.
like he just seems to be a guy that gets around the base paths in that way. But yeah, that's where I have to go with Brandon Marsh. But Bryson Stott, Bryson Stott's an interesting one to me because last year he took a Jalen Hurts, Tyrese Maxey-esque leap.
Yep.
Like literally, like, okay, the name might not resonate for some fans. Oh, Jalen Hurts and Bryson Stott. Jalen Hurts year 1 to MVP year 2. Tyrese Maxey last year to this year.
Mm-hmm.
Bryson Stott rookie year, not playing every day, to what he accomplished last year in the field and at the plate, hitting above 300 for so long throughout the season. Hits a grand slam to seal the deal to take us to the NLDS last year at home against the Marlins. He's a difference maker. So my question when it comes to Bryson Stott is it almost just more now about being consistent at that level and in little areas you can improve in, right? So like, can Bryson Stott ever be a 18 plus, 20 plus home run type of hitter?
It's tough. I hope so. But yeah, I think you're right. It's kind of more of a build off what you already know.
Yeah, like you're here now. Like you've reached.
Yeah, like we know who he is, and we know that
Correct.
his glove, he's got Gold Glove caliber over there. So it's like you got that, and if you're hitting 300, man, like
how much do you lump him and Bohm in the same box? Like I get it, the younger guys kind of Bohm's been here a little bit longer, but it's kind of coming up together. Long flow, like they're similar in so many ways, but they're similar in that way on the field to me too. Like where they can be such difference makers and such standouts from anywhere from the 5 to 7 hole in this lineup, but also when with a guy like Alec Boehm that's shown a consistency throughout his short career, it's like if they could just be consistent studs. And I know it's a lot to ask over a marathon of a season, but like think about what that does to your lineup.
Oh yeah, it does wonders. That's why Stott last year was so huge. Him just coming out and playing like that, it's incredible. It's like it's like a free agent ad in a way.
Yeah, because dude, like my point is, people don't just have Alec Boehms and Bryson Stotts lying around.
No, they don't.
So other teams don't have 7-hole hitters that can produce like Bryson Stott or Alec Boehm.
Two amazing top 10 picks.
If you can be consistent, 290, 295, 300 plus hitters, Alec Boehm hitting 20 plus, 22 plus, home runs, leading the team in RBIs, Bryson Stott stealing 30 plus bases. That's what separates you over the course of a season and into the bigger moments. So yeah, I think Bryson Stott, Brandon Marsh, they're all different X factors in their own ways. Going back to the pitching real quick. Wheels gets paid. Nola gets paid.
Oh yeah.
Rob makes a decision. Wheeler's taking the ball on opening day now, kind of going away from that Nola tradition that was here since he basically took the reins and entered the big league ball club. Concern with the rotation, especially with Taijuan Walker starting the year on the injured list, because now you're looking at Wheeler, Nola, Ranger, Christopher Sanchez. Now you're 4 to start the year. Spencer Turnbull is your number 5.
Okay. I'll say this. I'm not that concerned. I'll be honest.
You're going to sell me on Spencer Turnbull?
No, I'm actually not. I'm going to say look around the league and tell me what number 5 pitcher is good on any team.
That's true. I'll give you that.
And I'm not a Spencer Turnbull guy. He's obviously he doesn't throw fast anymore. He throws like 93.
Yeah.
Off movement stuff looked very good. He got a lot of swings and misses in that spring training game. As a number 5, like I'm okay with it for now because listen, this is not the final product. We are not going into the postseason or the last week of the year with Turnbull as a number 5. It's not going to happen. Like no shot. It is happening.
Right.
I love Christopher Sanchez. I'm so high on this year. 4 or 5, whatever. I really don't think it matters that much. I'm not concerned about this rotation whatsoever. We have one of the best 1-2-3 punches in all of baseball. We have the best 1-2 in all of baseball in general. I think, in my opinion, we have a 1-2-3-4 of a top 3, top 4 of those. I think this rotation is built to win. Would I have loved the Jordan Montgomery signing? Yes, of course I would. was never going to happen.
Mhm.
I'm okay going into the regular season with this rotation because Dombrowski's going to do something. He is. This 1 through 5 is not staying this way. It's just not. And Taiwan, hurt or not, whether he pitches this year or not, whatever. Taiwan Walker is just pissing me off, man. He was throwing like 90 miles an hour in the spring training game. Like, what are we doing? It sucks. I can't stand him. I have no concerns, Dill. I really don't. I really don't have any concerns about this rotation.
You're a better man than I. You truly are. I think if we're being honest if I'm being honest with myself, I know we kind of joked around about the bullpen concerns, but they really are a very, very talented bullpen. The rotation to me is probably the biggest question mark. And I think for different reasons, I don't mean question mark in terms of talent. I agree with you. On paper, 1 and 2 and 1, 2, and 3 are arguably the best in the league, top 3, top 2 in the league. I think that Zach Wheeler undoubtedly is a top 3 pitcher in Major League Baseball. Garrett Cole's out right now. He might be the best pitcher in Major League Baseball. I'll give you my concerns. What is Aaron Nola? I think it's a conversation throughout the course of the season. What is Aaron Nola? Can Ranger Suarez stay healthy? It's been a concern the last 2 years. Is anything Christopher Sanchez did last year sustainable? Is Christopher Sanchez a 3.6 on and under ERA pitcher? 3.6? Is he a sub-4 pitcher? If he could be a sub-4 pitcher, I'm in. You start getting into the 4.5s, high 4s, you got a problem. Especially, and then Turnbull, we don't know. And then I'll add on to that with all of those things involved. You go beyond wheels, excuse me. I don't want to wear that bullpen that we're so happy about down in the regular season again. Nolas has struggled getting deep into games. Rangers notoriously getting pulled early for no reason at times in games. Sanchez is a guy that if he goes 6, it's a major success. And then Turnbull, God knows what he's going to be. So I do have concerns for those reasons. I think the talent's there. And I mean, to your point, every team could have those concerns. Every team's 4 and 5 are iffy and have question marks, right? I mean, for God's sake, we had Bailey Falter being our number 4 2 years ago. So there's always concern when you get further down a starting rotation, but when you package all of them together, I would say to me, it's the scariest part of this Phillies team being successful for 162 and beyond.
Yeah, no doubt. The starting pitching is 100% the scariest thing about this team. The bullpen, deep depth,
which is so odd to think about when you do have possibly the game's greatest at the top of it.
Well, it's funny because with Taiwan in here, this team had a top 5 or a top 5 rotation in baseball.
Which is weird because,
it's so odd.
Go against what I was saying. Like Taiwan Walker is a guy that has an above 4 ERA for the most part.
Yeah,
but he's a innings eater, and he's a guy.
Yeah. And you kind of look around the league, and obviously everyone's like, "Oh, the contract sucks," which it kind of does. But you look around the league, it's like that's what guys are getting paid. Well,
not to mention, and to your point about other teams not having this, teams don't have Taiwan Walkers floating around at the number 5 of their starting rotation.
Exactly. Yeah.
It doesn't happen. So we can get mad. We can be a little not mad, but we can be Taiwan's on the mound today. Let's see how this goes. Who'd you rather have every 5 days down there? That would be my question. So I think the Taiwan Walker injury is a kind of a big storyline to start. Any of the young, you're way more into the developmental process than I am. Well, any youngins coming up.
I was about
this year.
I was really about to say, I was like, we still have Mick Abel there, and he's starting the year in AAA. So there is a shot that if he goes at the AAA and he's putting on a show and he's looking as good as he did in spring training, we could see him up here. We could see him up here within a few months, which would be very cool. I really like Mick Abel. I think he could be really good.
Yeah. Remember when what's his face was supposed to be our number 5 last year?
Painter?
Yeah.
He got hurt.
I know. I'm just saying.
You can't do anything about that.
I'm just saying. Remember how fun. I almost said Spencer Howard for a second. Remember those days?
Dude, I actually came across a video on my phone the other day. It was from so long ago. It was a sim game of Phillies against each other, and it was just Spencer Howard throwing a disgusting curveball and Reese Hoskins swinging and missing. And I was like, wow, what a world that was 3 years ago.
I
Look at
remember
us.
betting on a game I don't think it was last year he got any run with the Rangers, but I guess when we first moved them
2 years ago. Yeah.
I bet on a Rangers game, not on the Rangers, on whoever they were playing, the Mariners maybe. And I saw Howard was on the mound. And I was just like, in my head, I was like, watch this dude just torch me for all my money today after the way he left Philadelphia, right? And I don't think he made it through the third. I think he got absolutely shelled.
I used to fade him every single game.
Yeah, it was bad. It's like when you gotta fade him and you gotta fade Bailey Falter every time they're out on the ball.
Did you another new old Phillies news? Did you see Sixto made the opening roster for the Marlins?
Isn't he like 380 pounds?
Yeah, he looks really big, but he still got some stuff. So I kind of hope he's good. I kind of hope he pans out a little bit. We already won the trade. We already won that trade.
I was gonna say we did already fleece him.
Yeah.
All right, a little rapid fire here, man, before we get up out of here. Who will lead the Phillies in blank? I'm gonna run through, and you give me who will lead the Phillies in these statistical categories this year. Who will lead the Phillies in extra base hits this season?
Nick Castellanos.
Who will lead the Phillies in stolen bases this season?
Trey Turner's going to do it.
He's back on track.
30 season.
Yeah. Stott's been letting him hear it about how he stole more bags than him last year. I know we're doing rapid fire here. I do think that's a very underlying part of this Phillies team. They focus so much on the long ball and home runs and the power that, we lose games sometimes by not getting any runners across. Mm-hmm. Trey Turner starting out as poor and slow as he did, very hesitant even when he got on base. Him being his normal self on the base paths is going to create so much more offense for this team over the course of a regular season than it did last year. Because even when he got on base, I feel like he was so scared to make a mistake that he was hardly leaving the first base bag in the first half of the season last year. So we'll see how he continues to progress there. Who will lead the Phillies? Let's go pitching in strikeouts this year. Kind of down to two guys, but you get my.
I'm going to go Knowles.
Knowles over 200?
Yep.
Over 200 for Knowles. Who will lead the Phillies in saves this year?
Oh, that's a good one. In regular season, I'll go Sir Anthony. I think Sir Anthony.
Yeah. Who will lead the Phillies in runs batted in this season? RBIs.
JT Realmuto.
JT in the cleanup.
Yes, sir.
How many does he get?
Ooh, I'm going to go 112. I think Nick had 106 last year and he led us, right?
Did he? Yeah, I think so. Bone was leading us for a while, but I think Nick ended up.
I think Nick had 106 and then Schwarb had
Okay,
so
we got a Jose. My heart rate's gonna be 100. And lastly, the most fun category of all: who will lead the Phillies in home runs this year?
I'm gonna switch it up and not be. I'm gonna switch it up. Bryce Harper.
All right.
I think Bryce Harper hits. I think Bryce Harper's line on sportsbooks right now is 29.5. If I were a betting man, which I'm not, I am. I would over 29.5, dude. Come on.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
So I do agree. I think it's almost impossible not to know.
It's Schwartz. I mean,
because even on a year where he's hitting $185, he's going to hit 40+ bombs for you. The question is, could Bryce get you 42?
Oh,
could he have that kind of a year at the plate?
You want to know my one issue? I know it's rapid fire, but not that I'm super concerned, little concerned about his back. I feel like they're gonna kind of load that. I feel like it's gonna be like an Embiid thing where it's gonna be like he'll sit sometimes.
Yeah, well, that's gonna really kind of suck, but you do have to look that can linger, so you do have to keep an eye on that. But the spring training numbers. What do you make of them?
I take them with a grain of salt. Say that. I mean, depending on the player, I guess. Who are we talking about?
Well, the thing, Bryce Harper. Bryce has one extra base hit, 0 home runs. Mm-hmm. He's never had a spring training without home runs, and his MVP year in 2022 or 2021, 2022, he hit 8 spring training home runs. And I did see numbers on his swing trajectory and his bat path that the launch angle is degrees down from where he was in those previous years.
I think his back was fucking with him a bit.
Yeah.
I do. But honestly, even
by the way, I'm completely fucking around with any fear of Bryce Harper,
obviously.
but I
Even
do
if
pop from Bryce Harper this year. So back, remain okay, and please, I can't see any situation where they did this. Do not fuck with this dude's swing.
No.
Like
No.
if there is anything to that bat angle, shit, fix it now because I don't need any adjustments to what that man does.
K-Long's got us. K-Long's got us.
Yeah.
He's got us.
I just saw that number and I was like, wow, that it was a drastic difference in what he's doing. But to your point, backs lingering, meaningless games. Just what am I going to go and try to put a swing like this on a baseball for right now? So, yeah. All right, man. Before we wrap up here, how many wins did the Phillies get this year?
Ooh, that's a great question. I think
over-under is at 89.5. I think it's disrespectfully fucking low.
89.5. I think the Phils win 95 games this year
and don't win the division.
I don't think we win the division. I think the Braves win. I think the Braves win 99-100. I think we lose the division by a few games, but it's going to be close the entire year. That's what matters. That's what matters.
It is what matters. It's definitely what matters.
What do you got?
But I agree. I think the Phillies hit that over 89.5. They won 90 last year. We know all the storylines and injuries and sluggish moments they had last year. I think that they never easy, but 94, 95, 96 wins. I think the Braves probably win like 101, 102, somewhere in that ballpark. And they come in second. They get the 5th overall seed. They get the first wild card, and we look to do damage. Again, I think to wrap up here, our whole point, if you watch from start to finish of the show, our whole point was to not sit here and suggest that the Phillies need to win the division to prove anything, for it to mean anything, for a different outcome in the World Series. But I do think there is something to sustainable longevity of a successful baseball club. And I think when you look at all the talent they have from top to bottom in this order in the lineup, you talk about the top 3 of the rotation, you talk about the depth of the bullpen, there's no excuse for this team to be as inconsistent as they have been at times. Go win 94, 95 games.
Lock in.
Lock it in.
Lock it in.
Ring the bell. Opening day, unfortunately, is about 48 hours away. I was ready to say it's tomorrow, but unfortunately,
you wish.
Guys, that is going to wrap up this nighttime edition of the Phaithful Phanatics show. So, a little programming update for you guys. We will be here Friday morning, as always, Scotty and myself, getting you ready for more Phillies talk, more Sixers talk, and whatever Howie Roseman has up his sleeve. Are the Flyers still grabbing points and scraping and clawing towards a playoff push? And we will be back for Phillies pregame lives, mainly during the week, Monday through Thursday, some Sundays thrown in there. We're going to be getting you guys ready with DSM pregame live for all Phillies games throughout this long season and into the postseason for another Red October again. I guess that's one more thing we could have did with predictions, but I don't like to do that. But we'll move on. Will the Phillies win the World Series this year? I don't know, man. Sure. Yeah. Obviously, they could.
Why not?
Yeah,
Why not us?
Guys, don't forget, if you're new to the channel, if you like the content, if you want to be interactive, make sure to hit that subscribe button here on the YouTube channel. For myself, for George, for DSM, have a great rest of your Wednesday.